Hey, it's Laura Landers and welcome back to Morning Matcha. This is my show where I get to talk about whatever I want. And that's pretty exciting because I can do some fun things and some serious things and some in between. And today I'm talking to all the single people. But wait, if you're not single, you could really help a friend out. So keep listening because you need to stop jumping into relationships. There are so many things you need to remember before you go back into another relationship. And most likely you have a lot of learning to do. So I'm here to help you with the 3 things you need to keep in mind before you start dating again. So let's just jump right on into it. I believe the first thing you need to know is knowing your worth or finding your worth, knowing what your value is. And I think the first thing you need to assess is, how do you know what your value is? How do you find out what that is? Some people are a lot different than others, and there is no compromise when it comes to your value. So you have to ask yourself, what are you worth? You have to ask yourself, what are my values? What do I want to be treated like in my next relationship? How do I perceive this relationship? There's so much to it, and I don't want you to just take these questions. I want you to just sit down and meditate or whatever you need to do on this because it's so important. So, knowing your worth, knowing your value. I had to find this out. I actually knew my value my entire life, but I didn't really understand when I needed to kick it into play and make sure that the person I was dating knew what my value was. Because when I was dating Jordan, actually, he and we started long distance, which is so hard to do. So kudos to all of you guys who are long distance. But when we would date in person, he's the only person I ever dated on and off more than one time. I think it's really good to not be friends with your exes, cut them off and move on. He was just the exception to the rule. And he would not give me 100% in a relationship. And I would get so frustrated, and my emotions kept going on this roller coaster all the time. And so I just asked him one day. I remember driving into my parking lot and I was I called him up. I was so mad. I think I just came from his apartment. And this is when he was in LA now. And I asked him, hey, I feel like you're not giving me 100% in this relationship. Can you give me 100%? He was like, no, I can only give you 50%. And I was like, oh my God, just what am I doing? So I think I broke up with him the next day. And look at that, he got his life around and he's a wonderful husband. There's so much more to that story. That is just 1% of everything that's happened in our love story. But needless to say, I saved myself so much time. I could have been dating somebody else if Jordan wasn't meant to be my husband. But you need to know your worth. Ask your friends what your worth is. Ask your friends, or actually, you don't even really need to ask your friends. You could just be like, hey, I realize how you're treating me. You're my best friend. You treat me with such grace, or blank, blank, and blank. I should be treated that way in my relationship, if not better, right? So there you go. So the second thing you need to keep in mind when you are going back and dating again is learn to love to be single. Your singleness is such a gift. So I love being single. I was single for 3 straight years. Didn't even look at guys, especially in college, which is kind of crazy. But I just fell in love with myself and with God. That's when I found God, and that's how I base my life off today. And if I wasn't single during that time, I probably wouldn't have such a great relationship with God, So you really need to find who you are as a single person. That is so valuable to the rest of your future, especially if you want to get married, then you're never going to be single again. So keep that in mind. And the third and final thing is to feel the pain, feel the burn. Oh, I'm an Enneagram 4, so I love feeling all the emotions of life. But if you're not that way, you're gonna need to feel that way for this reason, because you need to heal from your past relationships so you don't bring your insecurities and baggage with you to the new one. So here's another fun little story. Is I dated this guy when I first moved to LA. We actually, in the Christian church, which, side note, if you're at a church and you feel like your community is pressuring you into a relationship with someone, you need to get out. That's just so unhealthy. But we got forced into a relationship, then we got forced into an engagement. Crazy. And it was pretty hard because he was not the most mature person at the time. I just moved to LA. I was not the most mature person. And then when we broke up, there was like this laundry list of things that I needed to work on. And at the time, I was like, how rude. But actually, everyone can work on themselves. You're not perfect. I mean, not that you're the reason that the relationship ended. You both were the reason the relationship ended. But it was so good that I took those notes to heart and worked on them. Oh my gosh, that really helped me with my next relationship, which I think was Jordan. So there you go. I married my next relationship. Not that that's going to happen to you, but if you learn from that and move forward, so helpful. And I allowed myself in that relationship when we broke up, because it was an engagement, it was hard. I actually flew home and just spent time wallowing, crying my eyes out, and I think I was over it in like a week. No lie, which is so crazy. Some people it takes 6 months, and it does sometimes. But it was so fast, but that was because, to be honest, we didn't have sex. Just gonna throw that out there. No soul tie if you don't have sex. So try not to have sex until you get married, only because, and I know that's hard, and I know that's an opinion, and a lot of other people have different opinions on that, but it's so much easier, oh my gosh, if you don't have sex before marriage, because if you do break up, you don't have a soul tie. I got over my fiance, which is crazy, in 1 week, literally. But I let myself grieve, I let myself mourn it out, I let myself weep it out and cry it out, and then I allowed healing to come in. That's so important. Healing is the most important thing, because if you can do that, then you're allowing your heart to, you're healing, but you're allowing your heart to feel all those emotions, start piecing itself back together with friends and loved ones and family and everybody just speaking truth into your life, whether you're praying or it doesn't matter. But then once you're done healing, then you can learn from your past relationship what you need to work on. You do need to work on something before you get into another relationship. And then you're ready to meet the right person at the right time. And it's really that easy. And then you're able to accept other people for who they are and not try to change them in your relationship. There's a difference between them needing to change for your relationship and needing to change just because you don't like who they are. So, I know I just spitballed a lot at you guys, but this is probably just one fraction of what goes into dating and being single and learning from yourself, and this is all I could fit into one video without it going like an hour. I feel like I could talk about marriage and relationships because Jordan and I have been in a marrieds group where we learn about marriage since the day we got married. So it's been almost 2 years. Every single week we meet up with other people, and so relationships are so important to me. And if you have a healthy relationship, the rest of your life is so much easier to get by with, especially because you have someone to help you along the way. So I hope this is great. The 3 takeaways are: know your worth. That's a really big one. You need to make sure that you're loving your singleness. It's such a gift. Spend money on yourself. Go buy yourself some clothes. I miss that. And then the 3rd one is feel the pain. Learn from your past relationship. Heal your heart, and then you can move forward just loving life, loving yourself, and then eventually loving that other person for who they are. So thank you for listening. I'm going to go froth my milk, and I'll see you on the next one.